I'm Sarah. This is Sarah Appreciates, and if you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. Thanks for joining us again. I have written down a few things, so I'm just going to be glancing down a little bit. Some notes that I've written. These are 10 things I didn't know about breast cancer before I got breast cancer. So, one of the most interesting things that I found out was that breast cancer often happens on the left side, about 10% more often than on the right side. And I'm wondering if this is because 10% of the population is left-handed, and maybe it's your non-dominant side that it shows up on most frequently. I don't know. But for some reason, and it's not really clear why in science yet, but breast cancer usually starts out on the left side. So that's number one. Number two, some of these risk factors I didn't know about beforehand, like alcohol. Drinking alcohol every day, don't do it. It's a big, it like increases your risk factor a lot if you're a heavy drinker. So maybe just, if you can, hold off for special occasions and don't drink too often. Also, smoking, same thing. Frequent exercise actually lowers your chance of getting cancer if it's a regular thing. And maintaining a healthy weight, that's one of the reasons I want to lose weight. I have news about that. I went to a couple of different appointments this week, but I got past the gatekeeper of breast surgery, so I'll be able to get that reduction done. I have a mammogram scheduled for next week. It's just a pre-surgery mammogram. We're not expecting anything out of the ordinary to show up. So anyway, a plant-based diet, mostly plant-based. That's not to say you have to go vegan, but increase your consumption of plant-based foods, and maybe decrease your consumption of animal-based products. And I recently talked to a friend of mine who is a nutritionist, and she agreed that maybe later on this year we're going to give you a little bit more of a talk on healthy nutrition for breast cancer. So that'll be fun. That'll be a lot of fun. And then also, a lot of cancers happen over the age of 50. So age is a consideration. I didn't realize quite as much as it really is. And also, your stress levels. If you have a continuously stressful lifestyle, maybe seek out a counselor for ways to cope that can give you more calm and peace of mind through the stress. Because we can't always get rid of all the stresses, but we can try to get rid of some of our bad behaviors that we exhibit towards that stress. So that's something to consider. Then also, if you've had a male family member that has had breast cancer anywhere in your family, however far back, your chances of getting breast cancer are that much greater, even more so than if you have female family members that have had breast cancer, because males don't get breast cancer as often as females. Also, the BCR1 gene, or you might hear it referred to as the BRCA1 gene. If you have that in your family history, my BRCA1 test came back inconclusive, so they just treated it like it's a negative. But if you have breast cancer, you may want to get a BRCA1 gene test done to inform your other family members if that's something that's in your family. Also, environmental factors, and we can't always be in full control of this, but again, I want to say that I'm really excited to talk to my nutritionist friend about this, because there's a lot of little things we do in the kitchen that can help us avoid cancers. How we prepare our food, how we store our food, and so forth. So I won't get into that here, but she's done a lot of research on that, and we had a really good conversation the other day about it, and I would love to bring her just onto my channel for one episode at least, just to show her, or just to have her show people how simple it can be just to reduce a few of your cancer risks. So anyway, moving on. Number 4, stage 4 cancers don't have any cures. There's no cure for any stage 4 cancer. If somebody says that they have a cure and they're not making the headlines, don't believe them. until they've made headlines. I'm serious. Really, really be wary of people that say that they have a fix-all for stage 4. I have stage 4 breast cancer, and I was diagnosed in 2020, and I'm still pretty healthy because I've been on treatment. So there are a lot of treatments available now, a lot more, and there's never been a better time to get cancer, I guess, than now. But if you have breast cancer, that doesn't necessarily mean the end of the world. It just means your lifestyle is about to change if you want to have treatment for it. So anyway, I wanted to talk about the lower stages of breast cancer, like stage 1 through 3. Those, if you have breast cancer, you are in probably the camp with a cure. So seek out treatment and make sure that you get your regular mammograms and so forth, because just because you have breast cancer doesn't mean that you're dying. Chances are there's a cure for you. So make sure that you get your regular exams, and make sure that you don't overlook your own health, and just be aware of your breast health. That's the whole thing. And then number 5, common symptoms I didn't know about. You know, like back in number 4, I thought that if you had cancer, that's a death sentence automatically. I didn't know that there was such a thing as a cure for any cancer. The last time I had a cancer scare was in my 20s, and back then they said there was no cure for cancer. So I just still was going on that information. I didn't know better. Anyway, number 5. Common symptoms of breast cancer that I didn't really realize, because everybody just says there'll be a lump. Chances are there isn't going to be a lump. If you're young, you might find a lump. The older you get, the less likely you are to find that lump. And these are some other things that you might want to look for. Instead of lumps, look for thickening tissue. Basically, if your breast doesn't feel the way it used to, if it feels tougher in a certain spot, if it feels thicker in that area, lumpier, get it checked out. Might be nothing, might be something. Pain in any area of the breast or armpit. Don't wait till your nipple hurts. Don't wait till it hurts more. Any area of your breast that starts to hurt routinely, get that checked. Get that checked out. It's better to think, oh, it was nothing, and know that for sure, than to put it off and then realize, oh, now it's stage 4, and maybe I should have looked at this a year ago, like me. Any dimpling of the skin or irritation, don't just assume it's stretch marks. Go get it checked. Have a doctor tell you if it's stretch marks, you know, especially if it's on one side and not the other as much. Anything uneven between your breasts, you might want to get that checked out. Usually the left breast is a little bigger than the right, but if it's bigger than usual, bigger than the other one, get that checked out. That's not normal. Flaky or scaly redness on or around the nipples, please get that checked out. That can be dermatitis, but it could be breast cancer. If your nipple gets inverted, like an innie instead of an outie, so like your nipple should be pointing out, but if it starts to point inward, like your belly button, get that checked out really fast. Go. Even if you're a man, that's not normal. Let a doctor tell you if that's nothing. You might need a mammogram. Go. Even if you're young, go. Any kind of nipple pain, have that checked out. That's serious. That can be very serious. Any discharge other than milk from the nipples, get that checked out. Any discharge that isn't milk. If it's blood, that can also happen with breast cancer. I never had that, but I know that that's one of the symptoms now, and I can't imagine how alarming that would be to not go get that checked out. So go to a doctor if you see that. Any change in the shape or size of either breast, and then this is one I didn't know, this last one. Fatigue was mainly my only symptom, and I'm stage 4. Fatigue was my main symptom. I had a little breast pain once in a while that would come and go, but it was mostly fatigue. And that was being diagnosed as depression. Did you know that cancer can be, and often is, misdiagnosed as depression? So again, get your regular mammograms, do your regular breast exams, pay attention to your breast health. So I didn't know all of that before I had cancer. I wish I had known. Then the next one is targeted therapy versus chemotherapy. Targeted therapy you might also hear called like molecular targeted therapy or targeted molecular therapy because it's made with small molecules. But they're essentially very similar things, and a pharmacist, you might hear them call both of these things because they both fall under the classification of chemotherapy drugs or cancer drugs. So it's easy to get them confused because they have similar side effects, but I'll tell you the difference. And I didn't understand the difference here either. So don't worry if you don't know the difference. It's not very well explained unless you go look it up. So chemotherapy is a therapy. It's chemicals that are killing fast dividing cells. So any cells that reproduce really fast, that's why your hair falls out. That's why your nails get crunky. That's why your skin might get all dry, is because these are cells that repair themselves very fast. That's why your white blood cells might drop dramatically. That's why you might start feeling fatigue if you're on these therapies. That's because they're both targeting these fast-growing cells. The difference is targeted therapy it's a smaller molecule, and so it's going to target more specifically the proteins of your cancer. So those kind of cancer cells. It's still going to target fast-growing cells, but so you're going to get similar symptoms to chemotherapy, but much less. You might not even get any symptoms at all. Some people don't get sick at all. So these are some of the symptoms that are kind of similar, is like hair thinning or hair loss, dry skin, nails, nausea, diarrhea, hiccups. I've heard of really painful, bad bouts of hiccups. Hank Green right now has cancer, and he's mentioned that he has bouts of hiccups that have really gotten to him. Mouth sores, and I've mentioned that in a previous video where you can do oil pull, that might help with the mouth sores. Fatigue, I think I already mentioned that, but I'm going to leave a link below in the description of this video for cancer.gov that talks all about targeted therapies and chemotherapy so that you can understand the difference. There's really a lot more to this than I can say in one video, so I'll let you read that, but it took me a little hunting around to find that link, so maybe that'll do you some good too. I'll share that with you. But don't be surprised if you hear a pharmacist loosely refer to either of these kinds of things as chemo, because they generally fall under a chemotherapy classification because they lower your immune system and they're used to treat cancer. Also, one more thing on number 6 here while we're here. If you have questions about your medications, call the pharmacist. There's a person between you and your medication that signs off on it to dispense the medication. Now, if you get infusions, that's going to be probably at the clinic where you go to get your infusions. If you take your medication orally, that's going to be the pharmacy that sends the medication to your door. So that's the chemist in your team of oncology specialists. That's the chemistry specialist. He knows your medications even probably better than your doctors do. So that pharmacist is going to have more information in their database about your medication than anyone else in your oncology team. Get a hold of that pharmacist if you have any questions or concerns, or you want to know if this is a side effect, or if you can take Sudafed with it, or if you can, I mean, seriously, you want to know about drug interactions and so forth. Don't just look it up online. Call the chemist, the pharmacist. They will know. So that's the best advice I can give you as far as how to take your medications and stay on that and stay up to date with it and really get informed about your medication. So that moves us to number 7. Number 7, I'm going to give the whole number to the American Cancer Society. Now, if you're not from America, the USA, your country probably has some kind of cancer society or cancer association that will help you. But if you can't, if for some reason, if you're too tired or you're too sick or you don't have a car, if you can't get to your appointments, call the American Cancer Society. They'll hook you up with a ride. If your cancer treatment is across the state or in another state, call the American Cancer Society. They'll find a place for you to stay cheap. If you need a cancer mentor that has your exact kind of cancer, that has been through this and will help you find the resources you need and help you give you advice on like what chemotherapy might feel like or what this is going to be like for you, and hold your hand a little bit and walk you through it, they have a Reach to Recovery program, and I'm going to leave that link down below too, where this isn't just for the cancer patient, this is for the caregivers too. They'll hook you up with a mentor that can help you and walk you through it, and maybe even put you in touch with other people that have the same disease you have or the same condition you have, that have been there, done that, and can walk you all the way through. Maybe you don't want to go to a group therapy. Maybe you just want like a one-on-one person, not a therapist, but just a person that can just walk you through it with a little bit of empathy. That's their Reach to Recovery. And if you've been through it, if you're a cancer survivor or if you're still on medication or whatever, they're looking for volunteers too. So I haven't done that too much yet, but I've considered it. But right now I'm pretty full with my life as it is right now. But the cancer mentor that they gave me, it was all over the phone. She just answered her phone and we would chit chat for a little while, and once I was fine, it was, thank you very much. And, it was like maybe 15 minutes out of her day, but she had a lot of other mentees, I think, too. But she helped me a whole lot until I got my stage 4 diagnosis, in which case she really wasn't as familiar with that. But I was handed off to the cancer clinic at that point and went through other channels. But if you need a social worker, if you can't afford your bills, any of this, call the American Cancer Society. I will leave the link below. Number 8, something I didn't know before I had cancer. The statistics are old and they're worldwide, and they might apply to people who live in rural communities that don't even have hospitals or cancer clinics. And, that happens. And those statistics also, keep in mind, most people who get cancer, and this leads me to number 9 on my list, most people who get cancer are over 50. So if you're young and you have cancer, that's a rarity, actually. That's not the most common thing in the world. But when you hear about these statistics, you have to realize that most of them represent people well over the age of 50, because the older you get, the more likely you are to get cancer. So if you hear, most people only live 3 to 5 years past the point of diagnosis of stage 4 cancer, BS, because most of those people are like in their 70s, 80s, 90s. That's the majority. So they're going to die soon anyway. I hate to say that. I don't mean it like that. I mean, they've lived full lives already, and their you're eventually, a cell is going to divide, and the longer you live, the more likely it's going to be that a cell is going to eventually divide without understanding how to quit dividing. And it's just going to keep replicating itself, and that's cancer in a nutshell. I mean, the oversimplified of what cancer is. I guess that's what cancer is. So just keep that in mind, that most cancers happen to people over 50. So statistics, if you're young, toss those statistics out. They don't apply to you. You're a rarity. Make plans. Plan your future. Keep planning, especially if you're on a treatment where you hear other people are making plans. Don't put your head in a bucket and think you're dying. Make plans, have a future, travel, whatever is on the bucket list. Just go for it. I should take my own advice here too. So, don't necessarily do as I do, but do what I say. I know that if you're exhausted, that might be another reason why you're maybe not following your dreams when you have cancer. I get it, but do what you can, and that's what I've been doing, is just do what I can, and do what's realistic, but have fun, make plans, do your thing, because this isn't the end of life for most of us. If you get a stage 4 cancer diagnosis, with breast cancer especially, there are some other cancers where stage 4 is much more serious. I don't want to play around with I don't want to mince words with that, but if you have breast cancer and it's stage 4, chances are, if you're young, you may live a good life still. So don't let it stop you. There's people like Heather Jose. I could do an entire video, just don't. I'll leave her link below too. She has a YouTube channel here, and it's very inspiring. She and her husband, she's had cancer since she was 26, and she's my age now. She's like 50. And she's had a wonderful career, and she's had children. Even after losing her fertility, she's adopted her son. She has beautiful children. Her son is a songwriter. He's a musician. Don't listen to me. Go to her channel. Listen to her. A stage 4 diagnosis is not necessarily death sentence with breast cancer these days. So just keep that in mind. I really want to inspire people to live, to go do those things that they wanted to do. If you want to take up acting, if you want to take up writing, if you want to take up, I don't know what your dreams are, carpentry, do it. Just do it. Never has been a better time than now, because there's a tutorial for everything online nowadays. Everything has a tutorial. So if there's anything you ever want, painting, anything you ever wanted to try, there's a how-to online somewhere. So give it a shot. Try it. And number 10. I want to explain here why 99% of women, the breast cancer patients, are women and not men. And if you're a man listening to this, I'm sorry. That's hard, because I think there's a stigma about it too. You hear breasts and you think woman, but we all have breasts. 99% of patients are women because women have more breast tissue. That's the main reason. We have more lobules, we have more glands, and we have more ducts, right? And that's where you can get cancer, those lobules, glands, and ducts. So that's why women have more breast cancer than men. And so I didn't know any of those things before I got breast cancer. I am almost embarrassed to say, but hey, we live, we learn. So anyway, that's my video for today, and I hope you learned something here, and I hope that you take this information with some amount of optimism and feel empowered by it. If you are a caretaker, or if you have cancer yourself, or if you're just here to listen and learn. Please be kind to yourself and others, and have a wonderful day. Bye.